Welcome to the Explainer. Just imagine an entire continent basically holding its breath every single time a politician in another country makes a decision. Well, that's pretty much the reality for Europe's energy supply. Today, we're going to be breaking down a really fascinating article from the Wall Street Journal by Carol Ryan that digs into this very high-stakes situation.
And this is the question at the heart of it all, isn't it? It really gets at the central tension of Europe's future. For decades, the answer has always been someone else. But as we're about to see, that's a switch that can get flipped at any moment, and the consequences can be, well, pretty devastating.
Okay, so how did Europe get into this mess, and more importantly, where is it headed? We're going to walk through the whole story. We'll look at the dilemma itself, the staggering price of this dependency, the new risks that have popped up, and then map out the path forward. And we'll wrap it all up with 3 key takeaways.
All right, let's get right to the core of the issue. You see, this isn't some sudden crisis that just appeared out of nowhere. Nope, it's more like a slow-burning problem, a dependency that's been growing for decades, leaving Europe incredibly exposed.
And really, it all comes down to this one key concept: energy security. Just think of it as the absolute lifeblood of any modern economy. It's what powers our homes, our businesses, our cities. Without it, everything just stops. So it's not a nice to have, it's an absolute must-have.
And here's the number that just puts it all in perspective: 58%. I mean, think about that. For every 10 lights on in Europe, almost 6 of them are powered by energy that comes from outside its own borders. It's a huge number.
Now, to really understand just how big a deal this is, take a look at the global picture. Europe's 58% dependency makes even a huge country like China, which worries a lot about its own energy security, look practically self-sufficient by comparison. This isn't just a challenge, it's a massive, blinking red warning light.
So this isn't just some abstract number on a chart. It's a recipe for real-world problems. This dependency has a very steep price, and it's been paid through a series of escalating crises that have shaken Europe right to its foundations.
And those shocks came one after another, fast and furious. First, Russia turned off the gas taps, which sent a political and economic shockwave across the continent. Then, prices just went through the roof, costing the EU almost 4% of its entire economic output. And just when they thought they'd found a new, stable source, well, they discovered it came with a whole new set of strings attached.
So, with Russian gas from pipelines gone, Europe needed a lifeline, and fast. And that's where LNG, or liquefied natural gas, came in. It's a pretty neat trick, really. You take natural gas, you super chill it until it turns into a liquid, which shrinks it way down, and then you can just load it onto massive ships and sail it across the ocean.
And the result of this big pivot was, well, it was a massive shift. Europe basically traded its reliance on Russian pipelines for a new reliance on American ships. And these numbers tell the story. In what felt like the blink of an eye, the US became Europe's new go-to energy supplier. The immediate fire was out, but the continent was now tied to a whole new partner.
But what happens when your savior starts to look like your next problem? This new reliance on the US wasn't a magic fix. It was really just swapping one set of risks for another.
The problem with this new arrangement? Well, American politics can be a bit of a roller coaster. As this expert from Oxford University points out, a seemingly random comment about Greenland was a huge wake-up call. It sent a chill through the halls of power in Brussels and made leaders there take a hard look at this new and, frankly, fragile situation. So this puts Europe in a really tough spot, basically stuck between a rock and a hard place. They could stick with American gas and just hope for the best, knowing they're at the mercy of political winds, or they could go all in on green energy, but then they'd become dependent on China for the tech to build it. It's a choice between 2 very different, but equally risky paths. So if both of those options are full of pitfalls, what's the alternative? Faced with this almost impossible choice, it looks like Europe is now doubling down on a third option, building its own power, right there at home. And a huge driving force behind this? It's just cold, hard cash. European businesses are paying double, twice as much for their electricity compared to their American competitors. That's a massive disadvantage. So homegrown power isn't just a political dream anymore. It's become a matter of economic survival.
And this isn't just wishful thinking. According to analysis from the think tank Ember, Europe may have already hit a major tipping point. That point of no return on its journey toward clean, homegrown energy.
And you can see the signs of this shift everywhere. For the first time ever, clean energy is generating more electricity than fossil fuels across the EU. Huge new projects are getting underway.
And critically, Europe is finally starting to build the factories it needs to control its own destiny.
Okay, so what's the bottom line here? After this wild energy roller coaster ride, what are the 3 big lessons we should really be taking away from Europe's story?
Takeaway number 1, it's not really about who you depend on, it's the fact that you have to depend on them in the first place. The real enemy here isn't a specific country. It's the fundamental vulnerability that comes with needing something so vital from somebody else.
And lesson number 2, you can't solve a dependency problem just by changing your supplier. That's like switching seats on the Titanic. You might get a slightly different view, but you're still on a sinking ship. The underlying problem is still there.
And the final and maybe most crucial lesson is that there are no easy answers here. Even the path to energy independence is paved with its own new risks. So, getting to real security is going to require a very calculated gamble on a future that is still being built.
Which leaves us with this final, really big question. Can Europe actually pull this off? Can it build its own power and unplug from the rest of the world? The answer to that question won't just shape Europe's future for generations to come. It could actually redraw the entire global energy map, and you can bet the world is watching.